All right. Hello, all. My name's Jai Wilson. I'm the host of Salt Spring Life. And today, on April 13th, on this beautiful sunny day, I'm thrilled to have Julian Bruce with me, a local realtor here on Salt Spring Island with McDonald Realty. Thanks so much for taking the time, Julian. How's things going today?
Yeah, my pleasure. Really nice. Yeah, enjoying the great weather and spring temperatures.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to get your intel. I certainly, have been observing what's going on in the market and it seems pretty crazy. But before we head to the real estate chat, I was wondering if you felt like sharing just a little bit about yourself and your history with Salt Spring and kind of what you're up to these days.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, happy to. Yeah, so I grew up on Salt. I moved here when I was 5 and went to high school on Salt Spring. Um, 80, 88, I think I moved to Salt Spring.
Wow.
So yeah, it was in many ways a different island and in many ways the same. I had a great time and lived in North Vancouver for about 15 years after that, and studied and worked at Capilano University.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, after having my son, he was about 7 months old when we moved back to the island, as things were pretty crazy in real estate in the city as well.
Hmm.
And we were living in a fairly small apartment, and even with, you know, two reasonable salaries, it really wasn't enough to ever have the space to have a family and a kind of more traditional family life. So that led us back to Salt Spring. Not that we looked at a couple other areas, but it pretty quickly became apparent that my wife is also from Salt Spring. So yeah.
Nice. Happy that you guys returned, and what a perfect place to raise kids. I've got a 9-year-old that just loves it, and coming from Vancouver and having the space and the natural beauty around is just priceless. So, just so much gratitude for being here for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
I really I feel so fortunate every day. My work reminds me of it. So it's great to really appreciate Salt Spring for all that it is, and work towards keeping it special.
100%, man. That's awesome. It's great to have you here. And when you are working in as a realtor and supporting clients to buy and sell homes, what kind of expertise, values, and approach do you bring to your work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's in the current market, it can be challenging, not just for buyers, even, for sellers too, even though, in many ways it can be lucrative for them now. But there's a lot of things to be aware of. So, being fully engaged in the market, but also bringing a lot of kind of current marketing and just a competence in communication and digital tech can really help to move quickly, communicate with folks that aren't maybe on the island.
Mhm.
And then of course, yeah, marketing is such a core component of the selling side. But yeah, it's it's a fortunate time because it's so busy. You can be a little bit more you can have the capacity to choose your clients a little bit more than you could in the past.
Mm.
And I've felt really fortunate to be able to work with clients that both, I'm really excited to see move to the island. I certainly have seen, not just in the clients I choose, but just in who approaches me, a demographic shift towards families, or younger folks that are my or our age, which is really exciting. Not that having a diverse demographic on Salt Springs important, but it has been fairly skewed for for forever, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a really interesting component. And then the other side for selling, so often we get caught up in the price, but it can be really empowering to work for a seller that is really their whole life has changed by, the value they can get for their home has made, a whole new chapter in their life possible. Maybe
Mhm.
they're really scared about retirement. Now they have the funds to do that safely and properly. So often there's these incredible stories on the selling side as well that can be pretty gratifying when you complete a deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really kind of rewarding role that you play on both sides, being helping people, find that right buyer, or, find that right home for people that are buying, and to, be a part of that. That's really special. And, I've always enjoyed kind of flipping through the real estate magazines or going online, and, just getting a sense of all of the amazing homes on this island. And, so many you can't see from the road, of course. And they're just such diverse designs and properties and acreages and all of the above. But recently, when I flip through the magazines or look online, there's so little for sale and like so little inventory. And I'm just wondering, kind of, what is your take on that? Is that due to the demand that's out there right now, or obviously COVID's playing a role in that? But what have you sort of attributed that drastic change in inventory to?
Yeah, two parts really. So there is a hesitancy for a lot of folks to sell even in a hot market when the inherent dangers of COVID are out there. It's a pretty high risk process, moving your whole world from
Hmm.
even locally. It's not at all the same, but if you're coming from across country, that's a big decision to make during a pandemic. So there's that's limiting people that might want to sell and move even to Vancouver Island, but certainly further than that are waiting till, perhaps they're vaccinated before listing.
Hmm.
But I don't think that represents a huge component to the shift. The bigger part is really the work from home. I've seen, I should preface this that, I'm speaking from my experiences with my client base,
For sure.
and the conversations I have with colleagues on the island. But, there's also a lot of news articles. I have a lot of real estate colleagues that are not on Salt Spring that all kind of echo the story. So it seems pretty universal that
Hmm.
work from home has had this huge impact on rural markets like Salt Spring. Um, a lot of clients that dreamed about living on Salt Spring, maybe vacationed here for years, all of a sudden have the opportunity to live here and continue on with their current employment. And that's, yeah, really made the buyer demand surge. And so even if our inventory levels were the same during COVID, that extra buyer demand is what's bringing it down so much.
That's eating it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And you're saying that the demographic kind of shift you've seen in the buyers are a lot of younger families that are, been working in the city and have had this opportunity now to kind of work from home and change that lifestyle. And like we were talking about, have more space for their kids and all of that. Are you finding that is the majority of the buyers right now? Or is it kind of a mixed bag with retirees as well? Or
I think, the change is not as drastic as perhaps what I'm seeing in my clients. I suspect that, at least to some degree, folks of my age are maybe seeking me out as an
mm-hmm.
agent to represent them. So
Right.
maybe what I'm seeing might be skewed a little bit
Mm-hmm.
compared to what the statistics on the island actually are.
Mm-hmm.
But I've certainly, yeah, from talking with other colleagues that echo the same thing. I think that, yeah, the work from home just skews a little bit more to, um, it doesn't affect retirees as much, for instance. So, looking at it statistically, it seems like we would have more younger people, certainly younger families that really have a desire to get out of
Mm-hmm.
a smaller space in the city. But of course, just getting out of the city during the pandemic also fuels it quite a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
hope with the recent middle school closing, while that was being announced, I
Mm-hmm.
was wondering what census data, kind of the date of some of that information they were using, as I was just seeing that transition occur and was
Right.
wondering if, God, I hope we're not doing this a little preemptively and then have this huge surge of kids and parents moving to the island over the next couple of years. But
Absolutely. I wonder if that'll
sounds like
even
they're
be the case.
leasing the space anyway, so there's a chance to, maybe it reopens again in 10 years or something.
Reevaluate if need be there, for sure.
Could be. I
Yeah.
haven't been following that super closely, but it was just a funny thought I had once I started getting a lot more younger family clients.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And how do you see kind of things moving forward? I mean, it's sort of a fascinating phenomenon where, the city has, I guess, lost some of its cachet, and, the things that we always enjoyed about it, like restaurants and going out. With the COVID risk, people are more hesitant. I also wonder, with the rising prices and sort of the affordability levels, if I don't know if you've heard from people, if people are just starting to reallocate funds and, prioritize a home with more space over eating out and travel, or, I just wonder how that's all kind of playing in.
Yeah, that's part of such a big question now, and such a big part of the future of the island as well. So,
Hmm.
trying to think about where I'll start with that, but yeah, I think that a lot of people have reassessed where to put, the majority of their income,
Hmm.
and the inability to vacation, or really, do any kind of leisure activity in the same kind of way that we did, at least, has motivated people to yeah, spend their money differently. And a big part of that is investing in home. uh we see like e-bike sales have gone through the roof recently. It's hard to buy
Yeah.
one. Things that you can do at home, and then home itself have reached a new level of priority. um and yeah, just how that carries on post pandemic is a real question that everybody has, of course. And I think that
Hmm.
cities will, um when people can engage with their life in a similar way to, pre-pandemic era, I think cities will have a lot of cachet again, and there'll be a lot of desire to do that and to return to life as it was. And we might see a bit of cooling off in these rural markets at that point.
Hmm.
um, but I guarantee there's just no way it's going to reflect the surge in value we've seen. So even if
Hmm.
there is some degree of a price correction, we've seen things come up from like 25 to 40%, certainly throughout the pandemic, in some cases even more. And it's hard to imagine a crash of that caliber,
Hmm.
especially with the fuel that is, from the work from home. So it's hard to imagine how we're going to solve some of the housing problems on this island. And
Hmm.
I am very, worried about what that's going to do to the island. I certainly, I'm paying close attention, and trying to find ways to assist in that problem, but also, feel like I have a lot to learn. And yeah, just think that it's going to be a weird market. There might be a reckoning when we don't have the islanders that work in any capacities that are, sub $30 an hour on Salt Spring,
Hmm.
and everybody's
Hmm.
coming over from Crofton. And that'll start to really change what this island looks like. So I hope we're able to kind of get ahead of that before it becomes, a really dire problem. Not that it, kind of already is.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, housing's always been, such an issue for the island. Absolutely. And, I wonder, with the changing landscape of the island and more people leaving the city, and maybe some of those empty homes that previously were rented out on the island by owners, if there's more people kind of coming back and taking over those homes, and unfortunately, bumping the renters, and kind of what that trend is going to look like moving forward. And I guess what the general sort of demographic of the island is going to look like. And as you say, who's going to work certain jobs, and what that's going to look like for sure.
I feel like again, this could be skewed a bit with my clientele, but I seem to have a fair bit less people buying vacation properties on Salt
Right.
Spring. The majority of my clients seem to really be moving here. At the very least, they're just finishing up what they're up to in the city and planning to be full-time residents within the next couple of years. So
Hmm.
that's a bit of a silver lining that I hope
Hmm.
maybe rings true with other realtors on the island. And we might see, um, a little bit more permanent residence, which could help a little bit in that situation. But it's
Hmm.
still, we have to create low income housing on this island in some
Hmm.
form, as yeah, having everybody commute over from Crofton isn't going to work forever. And yeah, I'm not sure what that looks like. I know that there's, of course, all these bottlenecks and challenges in terms of, servicing homes and properties with water and sewer,
Hmm.
septic, but yeah, I think they can be addressed in, near the downtown core. I'm always welcome to other perspectives on how to solve the problem, but it sure seems like we have to create some higher density housing areas that are specific for low income folks. As the solution as well, while maybe some more tightening on Airbnbs can help, there's a limit with that too, as we are a very tourist based economy.
That's right.
You can't just close them all down, as that's where all the tourists stay in the summer. So there's a very fine balance. And I empathize with the challenges inherent with the island's trust, as that's a you got a lot of people all complaining about different things. They're beholden to a lot of different opinions, and that's yeah. I empathize with the challenging task they've been faced with right now in terms of this housing crisis.
Absolutely, and I mean it's not a new crisis. As you say, it's been around for a long time, and this will likely add pressure to the crisis, and often things get worse before they're addressed and given the attention and funding that they're needed. And certainly, yeah, a little seeing you're a little bit blurry there,
Not sure what happened.
but
Hey, camera.
um,
Sorry. Well, go on. I'll try and
no,
address
no,
it.
it's okay. Oh, there you go. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
That's better. That's better. Um, but no, I mean, I'm in agreement. I hope there is, more work, more commitment, in the affordable housing realm. And certainly there's no easy fix to it. And, seeing the same challenges in Victoria, of course, and, Vancouver and all over the place.
That's an important point you make, though, that I think it's so critical for us to look at how other communities that share characteristics to ours are solving this problem,
Mhm.
and share our solutions with them, and that we can learn from each other, and see what's working in other communities for this problem. Is yeah, it's the west coast of BC is all in this together for the most part. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. And I don't have the answer to the affordable housing question either, and I don't think we're going to solve it today. But I think it's just important to, have that in people's awareness, so we're, giving it some thought and, you know, displaying that empathy for people that aren't as lucky to own a home and not have a home as easily. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and um, it's going to be an interesting time and an interesting future to see kind of where things go this summer, as everybody gets vaccinated and we move into a new phase of this pandemic. And I really appreciate the insights that you shared with us today, and I think everybody's watching the market with great interest, and having someone on the ground like yourself is super interesting, man. So I really appreciate the time. And I also wanted to ensure that everybody knew how to get a hold of you. You're julianbruce.com, correct?
Yeah, that's the easiest and simplest way to do it. My email and phone's on there, of course, and yeah, it's it's an unprecedented market. Looking back through MLS history, 30 plus years, there's no time where we saw this amount of buyer demand, this amount of multi-offer situations that we
Mm,
see, that are common in urban areas and condos. But and then sale prices, often 10 to 30% over the list price. You
amazing.
know, it's still a unique enough market that it's hard to draw, clear statistics like that across the board. But there's a lot of examples of what I just talked about, and it's tough. You got to really, it's a battleground out there for buyers right now. And of course, it's a really opportune time to list your house with, the maximum possible marketing, of course, to really show it in its best light. I suspect we'll see a lot of properties come to market as we do in the summer months. There's so many homes on Salt Spring that are surrounded by rhododendrons and tulips. All of that shows a lot better in a month or two.
Absolutely. And where do you think people are going if they're selling? Because I mean, that's probably one of the challenges people consider if they sell their place here. I mean, all the little communities and even the cities right now are surging in value. So you've got to have somewhere to go. Are you seeing kind of a trend? Are people going over to like Lake Cowichan where it's a little cheaper, or somewhere else, or what are people kind of up to when they're selling right now?
It's pretty varied. I certainly have clients that are moving over to various parts of Vancouver Island. There's a lot of shuffle on Salt Spring too,
Right.
often more than people anticipate. And there's older people that are retiring into townhouses from larger properties on Salt Spring. There's people that are going from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom or something on Salt Spring like that as well. So there's a lot of transition within the island. Had clients go out east. Not too many clients throughout the pandemic leaving the country, but yeah, certainly moving across the country. There's a bit of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, we haven't seen. I certainly haven't had much foreign buyers or even sellers leaving the country, as I said. And in 2018, a 20% tax on foreign buyers was introduced as part of the property transfer tax. So that's there's been a lot more U.S. buyers for vacation properties on Salt Spring pre July 2018. So that really that was its intended purpose, and it really did slow down that buyer demand. As it really even the created a dollar parity in essence. So there's not it's about a 20% advantage on the dollar, and now there's a 20% tax to even that out. Which it was well timed, as if that was compounding the issue right now. It really could have been, quite a lot more problematic.
And do you have any concern? Are you seeing like people, in these multiple bidding wars and, needing to offer above asking to have a chance? Are you seeing people kind of stretch their budget to a point where, you're concerned about debt levels and about people's capacity to kind of stay in their home as interest rates start to creep up, or as people realize that they still want to go out for dinner occasionally,
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a lot of talks with my clients as I start working with buyer clients. And a big part of that is ideally working with local lenders as well. So there's, through Island Savings or BMO and mortgage brokers that are local as well. I get my clients working with them if they're borrowing, or just, having those hard conversations about, what this is going to look like going forward. But it's a tough time working with buyers, as, there's a lot of what I do or used to do. And, still there's a lot of occasions where you're able to, but the due diligence that is in most offers in terms of inspections, of course, having a subject to financing, the ability to do that has reduced a bit in these competitive situations. And there's a lot of ways we combat that by dealing with the lenders and financing component up front as much as we can. And often we can have a 3-day or less turnaround once we have an accepted offer in place, if we've had all those pre-qualification conversations before we end up, actually writing an offer on a property. So with that, you can be pretty transparent with a seller and say, look, so long as the appraised value of the home comes back within this range, we're all good. And you get that, written from an actual mortgage lender.
Right.
You can be that conditional or subjective component to the offer is not actually all that subjective anymore then. And then often, doing showings with contractors on the island or building inspectors. It costs money to do, but yeah, if you're really going for it gung ho on a property, that I've done that a few times now during the pandemic. And,
No, that's a good efficiency for sure.
yeah, those are the crazy things we're doing now to try and win folks that they see the dream home, they really want to make it happen. And at the same time, it's God, it's an emotional roller coaster now. Is so often you're the bearer of bad news when if you're competing against 10 people, even if you go hard, sometimes you just don't get it. And
Yeah.
it's tough. You get so emotionally connected with people and with properties, and then they don't get it, and you're right along that ride of disappointment and everything with them. So it can be hard to leave the emotions and come home for dinner then. But oh, the camera's getting all fuzzy
Yeah,
again.
no, there you go.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's a different market, and it comes with high highs and also tough lows. So
Well, a good advice and good insights to anyone that's looking to sell or anyone that's courageous enough to buy something right now. And it sounds like you would be a great resource for folks to reach out to. And you must be super busy, but you've still got a little bit of time for new clients if they're available.
yeah, I'm certainly, like, I do interviews with buyer clients. As Yeah, that's kind of the thing these days, these Zoom meetings, get to know one another, see if it's
Yeah.
a good fit. Yeah, and always looking for other properties to sell on the island. We need inventory if you're at all considering selling. It's good to start talking real early as well. And interview multiple realtors is always something I recommend, again, to find the right fit. And talk about services offered, advice with timeline considerations like that, commission structures, of course. All of that's a really important thing to talk about with your realtor.
Absolutely. And as far as sellers right now go, due to the demand and hot market, can people get their place ready for market quicker these days? Like, is there as much of a need to renovate, to stage it, to haul out all your stuff that you've had there for 20 years, or is there more of an appetite for buying places that need a little bit of a fixing up, or people can see past the clutter? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something I love to vocalize to folks. Any house can sell right now at the right price, but that presentation component is so critical and can really, be the difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it doesn't take much. As a realtor, I have a huge, resource of people that I refer out, and a lot of, if you look at through some of my sales, there's been, some of the properties, a lot up Mount Belcher. I did a lot of uh, clearing of trees that had fallen on the driveway after the big 2018 storm. So,
Right.
there's a lot of ways I can help out with getting a property ready for market, both myself and with, the people that I work with. But it is so critical to clean up around the property, to really prepare the house. There's staging professionals now in Salt Spring if it is a vacant home. That can be such a great way to mitigate the risk of COVID as well, to do a safe, Airbnb, or go on a little mini, local vacation for a week or two while your house is listed and doing the viewings. I've had a couple clients do that with great success recently, and stay either on Vancouver Island or even on Salt Spring and Airbnb for a week. It can be, a wonderful way to, enjoy yourself and also miss out on so much stress of living at home at that time. And in that case, those folks were able to, come home and check on, their garden and stuff like that. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's
yeah,
good advice. So to consider the lead time necessary to get your place ready. And, spring, summer's coming. As you say, the rotos are going to be out. The sun's going to be shining. The back deck's going to be looking amazing. So get in touch with Julian if you're thinking of selling.